Hello, welcome to the Camp Indian Trails edition of Talking with Tims. I'm here today with Tim Wergler, who's the camp director for Camp Indian Trails. This will be Tim's third summer as the camp director, and we're here today to talk to you about the 2020 camping program for Cub Scouts at Camp Indian Trails. On June 1st, the officers of our volunteer executive board met to have discussions about our camping programs and potential operations for 2020. There was much discussion related to having camp, not having it. Could we operate a camp that was safe and minimize any risk to our youth? The paramount concern is providing a quality, safe camping experience for our campers, our volunteer leaders, parents, and our staff. I'm pleased to share with you that our officers voted on the 1st to proceed with our camping program. And our purpose today is to talk with you a little bit about what camp will look like this year, some changes that we're going to have, and to give you information so you can make an informed decision. We're not going to get into all the individual nuts and bolts of the camp operation, but we will be doing those in further video conferences with the adults and leaders that are going to camp this summer. Tim, tell me a little bit about what's going to happen this summer. I know we're going to have to adjust the schedule a little bit. Can you address that?
Sure. Let's start with talking about the schedule. We are going to start on June 29th with our first camp session. That happens to be a day camp, which is going to be held at Camp Indian Trails. So that ultimately means that our first day camp, which is at Token Creek, will unfortunately not happen, but we're moving all of those people to other camp offerings. Also, our first sleepover session is going to have to be also moved to other sessions. And then our first overnight is going to be moved to other sessions. And I'm in the process right now of contacting those registrants and finding where they want to go with their registration and those kinds of things. So that's going to leave us with 4 day camps available this summer, 3 overnight camp sessions, and 3 sleepover sessions. And the possibility of adding sessions at the end is obviously there. If there's an outcry for it, we will stay farther into August and have more campers.
You know, I want to talk about Token Creek just very briefly, because historically that's been a very strong and popular day camp. Can you share a little bit about why we chose to basically cancel the Token Creek camp?
Yes, that was a concern based on our inability to really control the facility like we can at Camp Indian Trails. At Token Creek, which is a great site, and we hope to go back there again next year. At Token Creek, we don't have control over the bathrooms, the water, the facilities, people who come in and out of camp, all those kinds of things that happen on a normal weekend. So we felt it best to move that out of there for this year, out of the calendar, so that we can control the facilities much more securely at Camp Indian Trails.
Okay, well, great. It's important information, and again, we regret, but we were trying to do what the best thing is to operate a safe camp. One other area, as we get ready now to start registering, because we've heard from so many of our parents and our PACs that they want to come to camp, but they want to see what was going to happen. One of the things we will do, because of the confusion with COVID-19 and a lot of questions up in the air, is anybody that registers by June 15th can get the early bird fee for Camp Indian Trails. So again, we want to try and do that to make sure we get as many people to camp and to make it as financially responsible as possible. One of the things I'd like to also talk about is a little bit about how do you envision the program happening at Camp Indian Trails this year?
Well, as you can imagine, Alex, we're really considering safety because the safety of our scouts and our leaders and our parents is paramount to all of this. So one thing that's going to be very different as we look at the program aspect is that instead of wearing T-shirts or getting T-shirts, we're each going to be receiving buffs. And a buff looks like this.
Magic.
So you can see that that's kind of a stylish way to be safe. You can certainly bring your own face mask if you feel more secure with that one. That's great as well. But still, you'll be issued a buff for your time there. The staff will all be wearing buffs or face masks. And we're looking at different kinds of areas where we're going to require more protection kind of gear, and that's going to be a big consideration. As far as programs, in the past when we've rotated from one program area to another program area, you'll recall that we do it by ranks. So all the tigers go to aquatics, then all the tigers go to climbing, and then all the tigers go to nature, and they rotate around in the different ranks. We're not going to operate this way. We're trying to keep our groups tight and small into concentric circles or communities. So when you come to camp, you're going to be placed into a community with your unit. Depending on the size of that unit, you may be by unit by yourself, or you might be combined with another small unit, and that's who you're going to travel with all the time that you're at camp. So when you go to aquatics this year, it's going to be serving all the ranks at the same time. We looked at that and we considered that as not being a problem at all. In fact, it's kind of exciting because it's an opportunity for the older scouts to kind of share with the younger scouts within their unit and kind of have that chance to look up at the older scouts and putting that older scout on a good basis for being a good role model. We're obviously then going to keep separation between the groups, between dining hall, when they're at program areas, and all of our ceremonies and sessions, and we're striving for the smallest group size possible depending on each session.
Okay, great. Well, hey, let's address something that is most important to the kids: food.
Oh gosh, yes.
That's the most important thing at camp in their mind is food. How are we going to handle feeding at camp this
I
summer?
think food is important to me too, but that's okay. That's another story. So the dining hall has always traditionally been family style. We are not going to operate family style this year. We are going to use unit separated areas. As if you've ever been to Allen Hall, it's very large. We also have the opportunity to use an outside pavilion if necessary, depending on the size of the group. So we're going to be using a line method where we all remain 6 feet apart. Hand washing stations will be available outside, so we get that all taken care of before we come into Allen Hall. And then Allen Hall will be cleaned after each food service to prepare for the next food service. I would offer that fun is also going to be a big part of our camp. No matter what happens at camp, no matter what issues we all have to deal with as parents and adults, I know that those kids are going to come out and have a great time and have a lot of fun. So that's an important part of this too.
Okay, great. And if we have a large session, we could look at doing shift meals as well. So we want to make sure that you know how that's going to work. One of the things, now let's talk about what's important to parents is health and safety.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if we could talk a little bit about what we will be doing related to specifics, related to health screenings, sanitation, and all that kind of stuff. So how are things, what's going to happen before they even arrive at camp?
Great question, Alex. So the first thing that's going to happen is that everybody who's registered via email is going to get a pre-camp health screening that you're going to have to complete either as a unit or if you're coming just as a parent with your scout with that smaller unit, the parent and the scout, and you're going to fill that out, and it's going to include things and questions about if you've been out of the country or had coughing or have a fever, those kinds of things, and that's going to be submitted upon your arrival at camp. Then obviously when you get to camp, there's always that short health screening. That's going to be augmented this year a little bit more to include some more questions by our health officer to ensure that everybody who's coming onto the campsites are healthy when they get there. And then throughout the camp, we're going to continue to do health screenings with the assistance of the staff to make sure that we're on top of the health issues through that.
And that's going to be temperature checks and just how are you feeling
Yep.
and those kind of things.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I know one of the concerns also is, we built the wonderful shower house out at camp. And I still recall a couple of leaders saying that as they approached that beautiful shower house, they could hear angels singing as they're approaching. But how are we going to take care of sanitizing and making sure that our common areas like that are going to be in good shape?
Oh, and this is also true then of the basement of Allen Hall and the bathrooms in Allen Hall. We're going to do periodic cleanings throughout the day. Traditionally, in the previous years, it was basically once a day. It's going to be more like 4 times a day. We're going to use on-surface cleaning solutions, sanitizers that is approved by the CDC. We're also going to do some other operations that we're talking about with other cleaning agencies to make sure that we have a efficient yet successful and well-provided sanitation program.
Okay. And then also I know what we'll do is in addition to the buffs that are going to be part of their uniform, so we're going to have kids running around looking like ninjas, which will be part of their uniform at camp. We're also going to be issuing every scout their own bottle of sanitizer
Yes.
and the parents and
Perfect.
all that.
Yep.
I think the other area I want to talk about is we may have some leaders or some parents out there or some youth that fall into what's considered a high risk category. Could you address one is the health forms
Yep.
and the physicals that are going to be needed, and those folks that may fall into that high risk category?
Absolutely. First off, if you're coming to a day camp or an overnight camp, because it's under the 72-hour timeline, you're only required to bring health form A and B. That doesn't require the section C that has the physicals part of it. So for those 2 camp offerings, it's just A and B, easily filled out. We expect that A and B to be submitted by everybody who comes to camp, scouts, parents, aunts, uncles. Everybody who comes to camp with a scout needs to have that health form. When you come to the sleepover camp, Then you have to have A, B, and also Section C. Now, this spring has been difficult with getting those physicals done, so the BSA National has allowed us to accept a health form Section C dated February 1st, 2019 or after. So if you still have that health form from last year, that would work for your Section C. You still would be asked to fill out a new Section A and B, so that's a great part of it all. There's also the opportunity to use what is classified as an alternate health screening, either an athletic screening or a school screening that can be done as well. So there's some options there. For those that fit into the high-risk category by the CDC, we're asking that you do contact your doctor and make sure that you're healthy enough to come to camp. I've talked to my doctor because I'm not quite in those health line categories, but I'm getting closer, and he said, nope, I'm good to go. So we do ask that you have that as well.
Okay, great. Now, what's going to happen for sleeping arrangements and when they stay at our sleepover camps? What are we
Absolutely.
recommending on that?
So we want you all to bring your tent. That's been pretty traditional at Camp Indian Trails, is to bring your tent. Pretty common also at Camp Indian Trails is that family units stay in a tent together, and that's fine. We do ask that people that are not siblings don't stay in a unit together or in a tent together. So if you do come to camp, and we do want you to come to camp, obviously, to make sure that you have that tent, we'll help you set it up. And when sleeping in the tent, we ask you to sleep foot to head. My boys are very excited about that part because I'm sure that they'll be tickling each other's feet most of the night, but that's okay. So we're trying to keep with family units, keep siblings together, and keep parents with their scout.
Okay, great. As we kind of wrap up this edition, I want to let you know that first off, if anyone is not able to attend camp, they can request a refund, and they can do that up to 2 weeks prior to their session of camp, no questions asked. And after that, they would apply for it, and the camping committee would review those to approve refunds. At the end of the day, we heard from a lot of families. As I've gotten phone calls and emails from many folks over the last couple months saying, please have camp. My kids are looking forward to it. We've had some that say, well, we don't know if we should have camp. So the decision that was made to run camp this summer was made based on the number one thing, paramount concern was, can we run a safe camp for our campers, our parents, leaders, and staff? And we believe with the things that we've put into place and best practices and consulting with other camps in the state, as well as with various governmental organizations, we can do this. But here's the deal. At the end of the day, you as a parent have to make a decision related to, is it the right time for you and your family to attend camp this summer? We've seen over the last couple months, as our kids have been cooped up from the COVID-19 virus, is that they need some kind of normalcy. And nothing is more normal than going to camp. And there is always a risk in anything we do. But we believe that with the procedures and the plans we have put in place, we have provided and helped to mitigate any safety concerns so that we can develop and deliver to you a great program. I want to thank you again for taking time to view this video. I look forward to seeing you down the scouting trail, and we'll see you at camp. Thank you.